She wasn't even supposed to touch it. Just another girl in grease-stained coveralls, swept into the corner of her father's garage. But when a $6 million hypercar came in, dead, silent, and loaded with secrets, she looked where no one else dared. What she found inside didn't just make the engine purr. It made powerful men nervous. Detroit, Michigan. 7:32 a.m. Winter pushed hard against the cracked windows of Earl's auto and tire. Cold winds snapped against the glass as the bay doors groaned open. Inside, hip-hop thundered from an old boombox balanced on a stack of tires, bass rattling the loose socket wrenches on the workbench. Jada moved like a whisper through all of it. Hood up, shoulders tight, grease under her fingernails. She was hunched over a busted manifold, black coffee in a chipped mug steaming beside her. Sleeves rolled to the elbows of her oil-stained hoodie. She didn't flinch when the door slammed open behind her. "Y'all got a bathroom?" A man barked. He didn't wait for an answer. Just looked through her like she was shelving, then walked past, boots crunching over spilled bolts. She nodded toward the back without a word. Her grip on the rag tightened just slightly, then loosened, then kept wiping. Outside the bay window, snow gathered in gutters along 8 Mile. Inside, the heater clicked twice and went quiet again. Earl's voice rang out from behind the charger on lift 3. "Girl." Everything. He looked around. Saw her. "Is there a mechanic around?" he asked, tone smooth but thin. Jada straightened up. "Yes, sir." "What's the issue?" He blinked. "No, I meant someone who knows what they're doing." She didn't flinch, just stood there. Behind her, the charger ticked as it cooled. Earl didn't say a word, just watched from across the bay, lips pressed together. Jada gave a small nod. "You can talk to Earl if you'd like." She turned back to her engine. She wasn't invisible. Just a young black woman in a lab coat laughing, whined in her hair. "You'd laugh at these clowns, Ma," Jada murmured, flipping a page. Her thumb brushed the corner of the photo. She reached for her mug. "Not your damn assistant," and caught it mid-tip before it spilled. Paused, then pushed it out of sight. Another door swung open, this one slower, but louder. Cologne hit the air before the man did. Citrusy, chemical, too confident. His shoes didn't belong here. Neither did the Rolex. Tony Scoletti's voice was the kind you heard even before he spoke. "We got a problem. Serious one." He didn't look at her, just nodded at Earl, then gestured with a thumb over his shoulder. Out in the lot, a flatbed rolled in slow, black straps holding down a piece of machinery that looked more alien than automotive. The Exolux Zera, carbon black, sleek like glass and dead as stone. Earl's eyes widened. "You bring that here?" Tony chuckled, but there was no humor in it. "Corporate needs discretion." Jada had already crossed the threshold. She walked around the machine once, then again, slow. Her breath fogged when she bent near the intake. She ran a finger across the edge. "Carbon ceramic brakes," she muttered. "Active aero, dual stack intakes. This thing's a spaceship." Tony turned. "Careful, sweetheart. You scratch that, we're talking lawsuits." Jada looked up. "It's not carbon. That's forged graphene. FlexWeave's wrong." His face twitched. "What'd you say?" She didn't repeat it, just stepped back, eyes still on the car. Lunch came. People dispersed. Grease-slick sandwiches in wax paper, banter echoing off the tile. Jada stayed by the car, sketching again. She drew not what it looked like, but what it might hide. Across the shop, Levi lingered, Tony's assistant. Nervous, slight. Shirt, the heater made its usual dying cough. Jada locked up. Stuffed her hands into the front pocket of her hoodie and walked out into the dark. No one saw her pass the mural. It stood alone, cracked and flaking. Rosa Parks in faded teal, eyes fixed down the block. Jada paused beneath it. Snow crunched under her boots. Her breath rose and fell. Then she walked on. Inside, the hypercar sat silent in the corner, a predator in hibernation. No one saw the look in her eyes when she glanced back through the shop's front window, like she knew something was starting. The next morning, the garage felt colder, snow alive. The Exolux was back. Same position, same flatbed, same expressionless front grille, like it was daring someone to try again. But this time, Tony wasn't with it. Just Levi, standing awkwardly near the office door, shivering slightly despite his overcoat. They asked if someone could take another look, he said, scratching his cheek. Just look, not touch. Jada stared at him, then at the car. All right, she said simply, grabbing her gloves. She didn't hesitate. Slid under the frame with the grace of someone who'd done it 1,000 times before. The creeper groaned under her weight, but the only other sound was her breath, slow and steady in the stillness. It's not fuel, she muttered to herself. Not electrical, not mechanical. She ran her fingers along the undercarriage, the skin of it too smooth, too deliberate. Something synthetic in the wrong way. Then she stopped, pressed her palm flat to a section behind the front axle. It's listening, she whispered, like a parasite. Her hand hovered, felt something. Not a spark, not heat, just a hum. Then she exhaled through her nose. What if it's not supposed to run? Up in the office, 2 techs leaned on a desk, sipping coffee. Girl thinks she's in some damn movie, one of them muttered. Yeah, she just picked up her notebook and wrote something down. Her pen moved slow, deliberate, like she was trying to hold the idea in place long enough to trap it. Felix, the janitor, pushed his mop through a corner of the bay, whistling off-key. He stopped near her, leaned on the handle. I used to fix planes, he said. Long time ago. Nobody ever asked me about it. Didn't care what I knew. Just wanted the floor clean. She looked up, smiled faintly. He handed her a flashlight. No words. Thanks. She stayed late. The others went home. Light left the sky. The shop's buzzing fluorescence flickered above her, the last ones still on. She had the dash of the hypercar open like a surgeon's table. Wires splayed out like veins. She plucked it out, held it between thumb and forefinger, the way her mother used to hold bad bolts. Like they'd lied to her. This doesn't belong, she whispered. She reconnected the wiring, one wire at a time, gentle like braiding hair. Then she turned the ignition. The car didn't growl. It purred, like it had been waiting for her. The sound filled the shop, not loud, but full. And then Tony came in. What the hell did you touch? His voice ricocheted off the walls. Jada, she fixed what y'all missed. Tony blinked. She? Or you? Earl didn't answer. Jada did. I did, she said, and I've got proof. She held up the relay chip, wires still clinging to it like roots. The room went still. Just the car, humming low. She should have felt pride. She didn't. She felt exposed. Her heart beat against her ribs like it wanted out. Her hands shook as she set the chip down. She could see the fear behind Tony's eyes. Not fear of her. Fear of something unraveling. She stepped back, jaw tight. She almost walked away, because the doubt hit fast and hard. She wasn't licensed. She didn't have letters after her name. What if she just got lucky? What if that chip wasn't the problem? What if it started again tomorrow? But then she heard the voice. Not out loud. Memory. Her mother from under a car, soft and certain. You don't need fancy letters, baby. You need to see what they miss. She closed her eyes for one long breath, then opened them. Levi stood in the corner, watching. I want to set up a demo, he said. Corporate. A test. Clean. On the record. Tony turned on him. You're not authorized to... It's already on the calendar, Levi cut in, louder than he'd ever spoken before. Tony stared at him, but didn't stop him. The next day came fast. The shop floor was cleared. Lights rigged. Earl stood beside Jada, offered a glance. I can do the talking. Jada shook her head. Nah, I got this. She stepped forward, didn't clear her throat, didn't adjust the mic, just spoke. This was the signal interruption. This was the delay. Here's how I fixed it. She slid behind the wheel, turned the key. The engine roared to life like it never died. Jaws clenched, eyes narrowed. Then, a single clap from Linda Park. Slow, precise, measured. Others followed, like they weren't sure if it was safe to be impressed. Jada stood up, said nothing else. Her hands still smelled like graphite and cold steel, but her back was straighter. She didn't smile. She just stood, and in the quiet that followed, something changed. Not in the air. In them. The suits didn't look through her anymore. Later, outside, the wind had softened. Earl sat on a crate, coffee in hand. She's your mom all over again, he said to no one. Inside, Jada gathered her tools. The relay chip sat on the bench. Still. She didn't touch it, but she kept looking. Because now, she knew something. Something wasn't right. And whatever it was, she had just touched the edge. The snow had started to melt by the time they offered her the internship. Linda Park didn't waste time. She showed up early the next morning, heels clicking against the concrete, clipboard tucked under one arm like a promise. She barely looked at the car, just at Jada. We've got a spot for you, she said. Paid. Lab access. Full housing. You'll be around people who build, not just repair. Earl leaned on the workbench, arms crossed. His face didn't move, but his chest rose slowly. That was how he showed pride. Jada didn't answer right away. Her eyes flicked toward the shop, the familiar grime in the corners, the sound of the radio crackling with static over an old Tupac track. She looked down at her boots, caked with the same oil she'd walked in for 6 years. I got one condition, she said. I don't just want to test your cars. I want to build the ones that won't break people. Linda didn't blink. She held it for a long second, thumb brushing the edge. Then she poured the cold coffee out, walked it to the sink, and washed it clean. The water steamed. The soap smelled like oranges. Her shoulders eased for the first time in days. News traveled, slowly at first, then all at once. The footage from the shop, her voice explaining the chip, the car starting up, circulated through forums, back channels, even a few official circles. Some of the other techs still didn't talk to her. They walked past like always, but now with a touch more silence, like avoiding eye contact might undo what they saw. Felix, on the other hand, didn't change. He showed up with donuts the next morning and handed her one without comment. Then that Friday night, he did something new. He opened the bay door at 7 p.m. sharp and let in 4 teenagers from the neighborhood. Dominican, Syrian, Mexican, Haitian. All boys didn't say a word, just watched. Tony didn't come back. He was reassigned somewhere in the Southwest Division. When he left, he passed Jada near the side lot. She was wiping grease off her hands. He slowed, then paused like he might say something. He didn't apologize, but he said, "Keep your eyes open, girl. You saw something you shouldn't have." She stared at him. "Maybe you put something you shouldn't have." He chuckled, but it didn't sound real. Then walked off, shoes crunching salt and gravel. The Exolux was gone too, picked up in a hurry, driven off by a corporate driver who didn't even ask to see the keys. The floor where it had stood was still marked, a faint outline of tires, a darker stain of oil where it had leaked something strange. One night when the shop was closed, Jada pulled out the relay chip again, set it under a magnifying lamp. It wasn't just foreign. It was illegal. She didn't say anything, didn't tell Earl, didn't tell Linda. She just wrapped it in foil, then in a cloth, then tucked it into the back of her notebook. Spring came slow to Detroit. It always did, but it did come. The mural down the block had been repainted, brighter now. Rosa Parks had sharper lines, her gaze more alive. Someone had cleaned the base and added a new phrase beneath. Power knows silence, but truth makes noise. Jada walked past it with her head up. The lab was nothing like the garage. It smelled like ozone and glass. Every surface gleamed. People wore badges and typed things into monitors with confidence, but Jada kept her overalls under the lab coat. A small rebellion. The day she moved into her new space, she unpacked 3 things. Her notebook. A framed copy of her mother's sketch, now restored and pinned behind glass. And her mug. Same one. But now, the words were different. Built, not borrowed. She ran her fingers across the letters, then set it down. There were new people to meet, new work to do, cars that hadn't been invented yet, engines that would whisper secrets, and systems too proud to admit when they were broken. But she'd see them. She always did. Just before the light faded behind the blinds, she turned to the room, picked up her tablet, and smiled. "Told you it wasn't carbon."